So interesting. And then why do you think that Aptera is really one of the only companies trying to do this? Because it just doesn't seem like something that, like, I mean, obviously there was the GM EV1, which was it was very aerodynamic, but it didn't go anywhere near the level that Aptera's vision extends to. But why do you think that no one really has been trying to do this?
Yeah, the EV1 was a great example of kind of wide-eyed innocence when the EV world started, and then the corporate overlords came in and crushed it down, and now it's just a much different, beast. I think that it's terribly hard to change your supply chain in the automotive world. So to shift from steel and aluminum over to composites is the first big hurdle. The second is you've got a lot of engineers in these big companies, and they all want to keep their jobs. So if you've drastically simplified your vehicles and made them out of different materials, you put a lot of people out of work, and you're gonna not a lot of people aren't going to get their bonuses because they're not re-engineering door systems and crazy lift gates and stuff that other vehicle programs consist of. I think there's a lot of headwinds in traditional automotive because they have a supply chain that's just not like ours, and they have it's kind of like software bloat. There's a whole bunch of engineers that just engineered all these different little software things, and they're all annoying and they all drive you crazy. And then, somebody comes out with something like Linux, and, it's like pure and simple. And you're like, but all those guys at Microsoft are going to lose their jobs because there's all these little bloat programs. The same thing kind of happens in the automotive industry. There's all these little things that people work on and things that the suppliers want to get into the vehicles. It's kind of this never ending death spiral for them. And hopefully we're the voice of change that hopefully inspires the transportation industry to do things differently, but time will tell.
So it's interesting that you bring up the transportation industry as a whole, right? Because actually, I think your design and your vehicle fits into the larger picture of electrifying everything and the shift in transportation, more particularly in cities, right? Where more people are maybe biking, e-bikes and e-mobility, e-city bikes almost are becoming more popular. Do you think there's a place for Aptera in the world transportation revolution in that sense, rather than what's happening, I think, more nichely in America, which is big trucks and big tires and that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's right sizing transportation, and I think the younger generation you see is maybe embracing that a lot more than the older generation is. Car leasing is a lot more popular than car buying now. And I think people like the flexibility of, if I live in a big city, I don't need a car. I can take public transportation, I can use a bike, I can use a scooter. So getting rid of these terribly expensive devices that are also bad for the planet is something that we think is catching on. But it's right sizing the transportation. If you live in a city and you only need to go a mile a day, maybe a bike is perfect for you. Maybe hopping on the subway is perfect for you. Aptera really fits in that right sizing, in that if you have to commute 50 miles a day, what is the most efficient way for you to do that? It's not hopping in your SUV. So, if you could have something that's brutally efficient for the majority of your transportation, 67% of the mileage driven in California is driven with 2 passengers or less. So the vast majority of transportation could be handled by the Aptera, and it could be 20 times as efficient as a combustion vehicle driving on the same highway. So, we hope that people kind of, think a little harder about their transportation decisions and where they're spending their money. If they're going to buy a vehicle that's, $60,000 to $80,000, that's a hefty check. You got to pay for insurance to insure a $60,000 to $80,000 device. Wouldn't it be great if you could get a $26,000 Aptera that has motorcycle insurance instead of automotive insurance, so it's even cheaper, and you're not paying for the fuel?